People often ask me about, ways of learning languages and how they can incorporate learning a language in their daily lives. And there's something that's called dead time. I remember reading about it in the book. I can't point out which one it was, but I've been using this term ever since, so I'm just going to say it's a little invention. I'm sure there's the term, but that term's been coined or whatever, but it doesn't matter for the purpose of this video. So basically, whenever you're driving, you're on the train, or like me now, you're on camp, and you have some time where normally you'd be doing nothing or being lazy, and just take your time and learn the language by reading a book, doing Duolingo or stuff. I have Italian kids around me and Italian counselors and stuff, so I'm exposed to Italian now all the time. This is kind of my use of that time. Whenever we're hanging around like now, I try to listen for the words and just kind of try to memorize them, but work out the meaning from what they're talking about. But in your daily life, whether you're, let's say, sometimes on a bus or on a train or driving somewhere, you can just pop a podcast, read a book. Obviously not when you're driving, but when you're on the tram or the underground or whatever. And just instead of, listening to music or doing something unproductive, spend that time on learning the language. Yeah, so that's dead time. And also another thing I wanted to mention today, I talked to one of the colleagues here at camp. She asked me a very interesting question. She asked, like, which language should I learn? And I told her, you should learn the language that you're around now. So for her would be Italian, even though she's leaving in 1 week. I'm now on like about 150 days, 160 days now, I think, of Italian Duolingo, and it's just to give me a foundation of the basic words. I'm not expecting to make me fluent or anything like that, but it allows me to get the gist of a lot of the conversations, and then from that point onwards, I can kind of learn the rest. So, Duolingo is just for learning the ropes, and then actual communication is the next step. So yeah, I managed to communicate with some people in Italian, like the ladies from the canteen. They don't really speak Italian. A lot of gestures help, like I said in one of my previous videos, that helps a lot. And finding similarities between Italian, English, and even Polish, maybe some words. I actually used some English or Polish words and they turned out to be the same. I tried explaining today to Sonia, one of the ladies at the canteen, or rather asking her if it was okay if I put cardboard where I put it. And after like 5 minutes of trying to explain what I'm talking about, it turned out that the word cardboard is actually karton in Italian, which is the same in Polish. And had I tried earlier, she would have probably understood me way quicker. But I tried really hard to speak Italian to her and explained what it was, and I failed miserably. So sometimes the easiest path is the best path also, which I didn't really think about when I was talking to her about it. We couldn't really call that a conversation. It was more like a child speaking to an adult. So another good habit for learning a language is you should always have a textbook or a book or a reference book or whatever you're using to learn a language around with you. So in times like these, you can actually sit down and learn the language. When I'm really not doing anything for now. I've got a book with me because I'm not really that serious about Italian. I just learned a little bit of it just to get by. But if you'd be serious about learning Italian, and if you're in my shoes, you could have a textbook nearby, learn something and then literally just go approach somebody and test it out. Always carry around the book with you, or whatever it is you're using as a learning material. It can even be your phone if you have stuff on your phone. So yeah, that time is definitely useful in learning a language or learning in general. I've started carrying books around with me. I've noticed I read much faster and I'm able to get through many more books than I used to. It's July now, and I've probably read about 10 books by now, just because I carry those books around with me everywhere. I'm in the car, I read a few pages waiting for somebody. I take it traveling. I'm gonna read when everybody's relaxing or something and there's nothing to do. I took it on camp with me. I read in the evenings or during breaks. I just sit down, read 2-3 pages, and you get through those books really quickly. So this video has really turned into talking about books more than that time, but it's all connected. Kind of how you can integrate learning, whatever it is you're learning. It doesn't have to be a language, it can be anything, into your time. Try to, instead of making time for doing something, learning something specific, just do it in your dead time, so when you're not doing anything productive anyway. So instead of watching Netflix or whatever, doing something that's unproductive, if you want to be productive, of course, read a book, do something that will further your development in the context of language learning or personal finances, like in my case sometimes. This is going to be a video in a bit of a different format, but I wanted to stay consistent. It's more of a lecture, whatever. not a lot of moving around, but I wanted to stay consistent, like I said, and still produce a video even though the conditions are not the best, and I didn't really take my microphone with me because I was afraid if there's going to be rain, I'll get soaked again. It will just break the microphone. So yeah, remember that this channel is to pique interest and educate. Thanks for watching this video, and see you in the next one next week on Thursday.